Is the NBA's new futuristic airless ball a hooper's worst nightmare? It's definitely the weirdest game ball of all time, and it has holes all over it. The new ball features insane, never seen before cutting-edge technology, but there are some cons about the ball that will change the league forever. The strangest basketball ever made was first seen by the masses during this year's NBA Slam Dunk Contest. Kenyon Martin Jr. threw down one of his dunks during the competition with this ball, and since everyone's been curious about when they can expect to see it become the NBA game ball and all the pros and cons of this ball, first, let's reveal all the unique details about how this basketball was invented. Like the current NBA game ball, this basketball was designed and produced by Wilson. The way Wilson makes this basketball is through 3D printing. But it took a lot of trial and error and experimenting with every 3D printing method for Wilson to discover the only method that would work for creating their airless basketball. SLS, or selective laser sintering, was the only 3D printing method that was able to create a basketball that Wilson engineering and design teams believed made a basketball that felt and bounced like a traditional basketball. The way the printer creates this basketball is very bizarre. There's a laser that sketches the basketball's design into a powdered bed to model the basketball. They then grab the newly forged basketball out of the bed of powder and shake off all the dust and debris. And voila, you have Wilson's viral 3D printed airless basketball covered in holes that have NBA fans in awe. One of these SLS printers used to make the 3D ball cost up to $20,000. So for those of you that are already getting ideas, you might want to know the price tag for just one printer. Wilson then makes sure they seal the powder with a smoothing technique and get the basketball dyed. Currently, most of the basketballs are dyed black, but the rumor is that the game ball will be dyed orange to keep the tradition alive. Once each 3D printed basketball has gone through the entire creation process, it's then shipped from Chicago to the NBA testing facility in Ohio. According to Wilson, each ball goes through rigorous quality assurance testing. Once each ball passes through testing, they're ready for the courts. However, although these 3D printed basketballs are being produced by the NBA game ball designers and manufacturers, there are several serious concerns. First, let's start with the most obvious concern, the holes. Fans have been on Wilson about how the hundreds of tiny holes on this ball boast a ton of issues, including inevitable indoor and outdoor challenges. One of the main issues with the holes is all the particles, dust, and debris that will be picked up by the holes in the ball. Hooping with this basketball outside might get really old after one full court game if the ball is coated in dirt and rubble inside and out. Not only would the grip be worse, of course, and the weight of the basketball could even potentially change depending on how much the holes pick up. While this is primarily a concern for outdoor hoopers because there's way more debris on outdoor courts than on indoor ones, indoor hoopers aka NBA players will still experience this issue with any dust or dirt that exists on the court. Another element that would affect both indoor and outdoor hoopers is sweat seeping into the ball. This would potentially track onto the court, but would also ruin the grip since you can't just wipe away the sweat if it keeps seeping from the inside out. But a bigger problem with the holes is how they impact shooting. This is by far the biggest worry that fans and players both have with the ball. All the potential problems I just mentioned, by the way, can definitely make shooting miserable, but the ones critics are talking about the most are the airflow concerns. The holes on the ball will have an effect on the airflow, but how bad will it get? Experts wonder how this airflow will impact the Magnus effect, which is how a basketball will curve in the air once it's been given backspin. This is a common practice by your favorite NBA shooters today. Changing shooting styles to adjust to this basketball would be an absolute nightmare for shooters and all players. This is the main reason athletes and fans are protesting this potential future game ball. People have been comparing this basketball to a wiffle ball, which is the last thing NBA players and coaches want to hear. If you're not familiar with what a wiffle ball can do, these things can dance, curve, and spin all over the place. Will this basketball be able to be manipulated in some capacity like a wiffle ball? The good news is that the 3D printed ball weighs the exact same amount as a normal basketball, unlike the wiffle ball baseball comparison. Because the 3D ball weighs the same amount as the current game ball, experts would find it hard to believe that the ball would be whipped around like a wiffle ball. Where the airflow dynamics could actually be a positive is for outdoor hoopers. During a windy day, the ball might be a better choice for shooters. Every hooper knows the struggle of shooting threes when the gust is coming in hot. But with a basketball that allows the wind to pass through the ball instead of pushing the ball, this would be a huge win for outdoor hoopers. Another concern everyone has had with this 3D basketball is the bounce. Will the NBA's handle gods despise this ball because the change in bounce? Unfortunately, Wilson confirmed that the 3D ball's bounce is indeed the same as the current Wilson game ball's bounce. Nevertheless, what remains unknown is if the ball will remain the same over time, and if it diminishes, then how much life does this ball have before the bounce is lost? The fact of the matter is we won't know all those exact details until the basketball is released. However, what we do know is roughly when this ball will be released for sale, how much it will be, and will the NBA adopt this basketball as the official game ball anytime soon, and what other sports will be next in line for a 3D printed ball. Some of these answers are shocking. Wilson's 3D printed basketball creator Dr. Lippis said there's definitely a possibility we see 3D printed balls created by Wilson for other sports. It all just depends how the technology develops. And my guess is that the feedback they will get for the basketball will be a deciding factor. We know these printed basketballs aren't cheap to produce, therefore they aren't cheap to buy. The 3D printed basketball cost about $65 to make. It's going to then be sold for about $200 to $270. The current Wilson game ball is about $200 to buy. Because it seems like this 3D printed ball is better suited for outdoor hoops, they might just need to adjust their prices to fit the role. However, Wilson has other plans for their precious creation. The NBA official game ball has changed dramatically over the years. Why would the trend stop now? Wilson's goal for the 3D printed basketball is to see it used competitively. Nevertheless, they currently don't have any plans to change today's NBA official game ball. For now, we get to keep the NBA game ball we all know and love. But sooner or later, the future will be here to stay. I'm James, and I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of the new 3D printed basketball. I'm going to be revealing a new NBA invention very soon, so make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss this upcoming story.